Hello, every pony. This is Nightlife here, and well, I quite literally just got done recording Chapter 11 of Fallout Equestria. Heck, it's not even out of the oven yet, man. It's still exporting as to an MP3 as we speak. So I'm extraordinarily bored and uh, well, a little jittery. So I thought some reading might calm my nerves. I'm just so excited too. I just want to get to the part where they meet a certain undisclosed pony. So yeah, then they get the new other undisclosed pony, and then the next undisclosed pony, and then yeah, Team B awesome. Okay, so this is Fallout Equestria, Project Horizon. I can never say project in that context. The buck can't I do that? Oh well. Fallout Equestria Project Horizons. This episode is brought to you by Cocoa Puffs. Eat it in your face. Uh, Fallout Equestria Project Horizons, Chapter 12, Denial by Somber. Obviously, that's why I zipped my mouth closed and locked it with the key, then dug a hole, then buried the key, then built the house on top of the hole where I buried the key, then moved into the house on top of the hole. Pinkie Pie. Yeah, enough said. I sat down on the cracked asphalt, looking at where the three ponies had stood. The rain increased, pouring out great wet drops that washed away any remains left on the rusting span. They were just gone, and even though I hadn't known them, I somehow missed them. How could I miss complete strangers? I'm sorry, Priest said over the rain hissing off the water. Why didn't you stop them? I asked as I slowly turned to glare at him over my shoulder. He didn't look angry, just sad. Somehow that made me even more furious, because it's not my place to stop them. Not your place? I whirled, glaring into his eyes. You're whatever you are. How could it not be your place to stop them? No mare in Stable 99 would ever kill himself and deprive the stable of her abilities. Every life was needed. Important. I wish everyone knew that. That was me talking. Yeah. What should I have done, Blackjack? Locked them up? Drugged them? No anger. Why wasn't he angry about this? The buck just happened. Oh, okay. The file finished converting, and that made it jump over to that files or that little window. So one moment, please. Okay, I'm back. Oh, not your, not your place or whatever. Wait, which no anger. Wasn't he angry about this? How dare he be so calm about letting three ponies walk to their death? I talked to them, just as I talked to you. I listened. I prayed. But in the end, the choice was theirs. You just let them kill themselves because it was a choice? I felt my horn tingle. I was about to make a choice of my own. Yes, we get so few choices in the wasteland, Blackjack. Most of them are too horrible to contemplate. Do I starve or let my children starve? Do I die or do I kill to survive? Do I do the wrong thing a lot and live or not? Calm. I tried to talk. One second. Okay, I'm back. I try to talk each and every pony out of it. Try to convince them to choose to live. I I tell I tell them that they'll have a home in chapel if they want, or I'll help them get to Stockyard or Gutterville. But the choice to live has to be theirs. Otherwise, I'm no different than the wasteland. I won't take away the choice to die painlessly of their own volition. And if they do make that choice, how can I deny them? How can I deny them a little peace? My pulse thudded in my ears as I breathed low and fast. So if we were to walk down this bridge right now, you wouldn't try to stop me. So if I were to walk this bridge right now, you wouldn't try to stop me? I asked, my mane itching like crazy. No, I wouldn't. He replied calmly. I would argue, politely, that you have far more to live more than to die for. You have your friends out there, looking for you. You have questions for which you lack answers. You have enemies that wish you to die. and I suspect that Celestia and Luna would be disappointed if you took that walk. He was so rational and calm about it. You've never thought about that choice? No! But I faltered, as I glared at him. Hadn't I? Lying on a mattress, dying of radiation poisoning? In the hall after I was sure Gloria had died, following me into a death trap? They'd both been moments when I'd have happily died to escape the guilt. If I'd been standing here right now after killing Scoodle, would I be arguing against taking that walk? I wanted to be angry. I didn't want to think about this. What about what about foals? Do you let them walk too? From a look of pain on his face, I knew the answer. My only rule is that children must go last. The Crusaders exist for that reason, to give them a family to live with once their own is gone. But yes, some make the final walk. Some make the final walk too. And Celestia, damn me, I let them. He turned and slowly started to walk back towards the village. I watched him go, hating him for being capable of doing that. P-21 was right. There was no way the wasteland would allow a nice buck to exist. It poisoned everything, and if you couldn't see the poison right away, you just weren't looking hard enough. That sounds like the philosophy that MacArthurism founded. If you're not finding communists, you're not looking hard enough. Don't think about it. That's all. That's all there was to it. Don't think about it and get through the day. Some pony had written something on the asphalt long ago in flaking white paint. I approached, looking down. The rain splashed down on the carefully written letters. Mercy. When I finally got my butt off that bridge and back into town, I spotted a line of ponies funneling into chapel. I didn't want to go in after them. I'd have much rather just returned to the post office and slept off what remained of my hangover. I didn't want to know what they were gathering for. It was probably just to discuss who was going to kill themselves next, or worse. It was as if I'd never felt that. It wasn't as if I never felt that suicidal impulse, but at the times I had, there were ponies who'd stopped me. They talked me down, and I listened. I'd like to think that if I hadn't, they would have done something to save me from myself. Yet, as I stood there on the road, looking at the chapel and at priests standing beside the door, I found myself questioning that. If I hadn't gotten off that mattress, would Watcher have tried to force me? If I had tried to blow my head off after thinking Gloria was dead, would P-21 have fought me? I don't know what drew me towards that white building. I know it wasn't something spiritual, but I don't have a single spiritual bone in my body. Curiosity, I suppose. If this was some morbid gathering of death, then I'd leave. That would be that. I stood in the door, looking in at a few of the occupied pillows. I smiled a little at the sight of Melody sitting alongside the catmonger and a few other unicorns. I hoped the other four were here too, but I couldn't spot them. Priest looked at the gathered, his eyes lingering on me just enough for me to give him an awkward smile in return. Or just long enough for me to give an awkward smile in return. Today we give our voice to our hope for the future, that it may bring us happiness. We pray for our faith that the sun and moon remain just beyond the clouds. We stand together, shoulder to shoulder, together, for the day when we may be reunited with our princesses once again. Celestia protects, Luna defends. Every pony bowed their heads. Well, every pony except me. Call me a cynic, but to me, barding and a shotgun protected and defended much more reliably than belief. Then a tiny mote of light appeared from the end of Priest's horn. For a moment, I wondered just what was going to happen. Then the tiny little glow of magic emerged Then, from the tiny little glow of magic, emerged a soft melody. I'd never heard an instrument that could make music like that, like 100 deep flutes playing in unison. I froze as the simple tune played once. A pause, and then every pony, except me, began to sing. Motes of light glowed from the horns of the unicorns, and flutes, violins, banjos, drums, an accordion, and a harmonica joined in. Priest's great piping music pulled them into a blend that almost knocked me to the floor. The other young unicorns on a bounty united in song, blending together into a tone of harmony. From below, the adults raised their voices as well, supporting the melody in soft voices, rough voices, quiet voices, and deep voices. All raised their voices to Celestia and Luna in hope and reverence. One rainy night, I discovered Sweetie Belle. I would always be a fan of Sapphire Shores. I had heard music that could inspire, amuse, even invigorate. This was as if I was hearing all that music for the very first time. This was music that saved. It saved adults from the final leg of their pilgrimage across the bridge. It saved foals from being consumed by the wasteland. Every pony belonged to it, except me. I don't think I could have made a tune or a song or sung a note right then. I was too busy crying. I'd never before experienced music so honest and good that it hurt. I ached as it swept me along, and yet it was a good hurt. It felt as if something dark was being drawn out of my chest and set aside. It wasn't perfect. I could hear off notes. That didn't matter. Ponies weren't perfect. But for just a few minutes, there was beauty in Equestria. I'd finally had to leave. Maybe someday I could stay and listen, but right then I couldn't stand it any longer. For the first time since I could remember, I felt good. Did Big Macintosh and his merry pony feel this way? Had every pony felt this way before things had gone wrong? I didn't fool myself. I knew that there wasn't any greater magic to it. When they finished singing, the wasteland would still be the wasteland. Hoofington would still loomed ominously to the northeast. The skies were still dark with clouds, but at least it stopped raining. I've heard music like that once, and every time I remember it, I nearly cry. Let's continue, shall we? I'd done another sweep of the surrounding area, more to compose myself than to look for trouble. I'd come across some nasty radigators that had gotten a bit too close for my tastes, but my shotgun still took them out before they could do any damage. I tried my hoof at opening a locked ammo box, but I found, instead of opening it, I just lost my last bobby pin. Not willing to lose something potentially I just lost my last potentially useful. I decided to just lug the heavy thing around until I found another pin to try with. I'd also instead listen to the holotape I found at the museum. I'm recording this message for legal purposes. Until I receive a formal request from the members of the Ministry of Wartime Technology and Ministry of Arcane Sciences in writing, I will not turn over our mineralogical collection to your office. I do not care how many times you appeal to the greater war effort, Miss Ebony. The museum is not a part of the ministries, and the history of our collection began long before the war. The samples are not under your jurisdiction. Many ponies are unique, so please, many pieces are unique. So please, end all requests for the collection, or I shall be forced to appeal to the higher powers. Curator Buttercup, Amir said quite primly. That hadn't been enough for some pony. The museum had been attacked, and given that it was still locked down when I came across it, I can only imagine that the attack had been on the day of the bomb's wait. There were a lot of bullets. That meant machine gun fire. I hadn't found any machine guns among the bones, though. That meant the attackers knew had to have gotten out of the museum after they'd finished, but since the other bodies had just been left there, whoever attacked the museum must have done so with just enough time to get in and out before the bombs fell. Any more and the lockdown would have ended so that the bodies could be cleared away. But any less and the attackers would have been caught too. So that was some freaky luck. Come to think of it, how had the attackers managed to get out while the museum was locked down? It didn't really matter. I doubted that the particulars of a 200-year-old shooting at a museum would still be important. I had quite a pleasant surprise when I got back. One of my friends had arrived while I was out. Okay, I wasn't sure I had any right to call her that, but right now I was on my own, and I'd take even a friendly person as a friend. By person, you can guess who this is. He's right. Sakashi sat in the middle of the post office, and enraptured audience in front of her as she told a tale with far more grace and amusement than I had than I had at my interrogation at the hooves of the Crusaders. Magina sat nearby, apparently unsure how to handle the attention from the several foals who were admiring her stripes. And so that is how the first zebra got her stripes, Sakashi said with a broad smile, clearly in her element. When she spotted me, her eyes brightened. Returning her attention to the Crusaders, she asked, "Ah, sweet security has arrived," she said. "Ah, sweet security has arrived. Please, let me speak with her, and I will return, and when I return, I will tell you why ponies come in so many colors." That offer seemed to mollify the Crusaders a bit, and they let her rise and walk to me. She gave me a nuzzle. She gave me a cheek nuzzle before leading me outside. "Sakakashi, I am so glad to see you. Where are P-21 and Glory? What?" She turned around and gave me a wry smile. "All right, you can't hear me." "Sadly not, but Magina's hearing may recover. She is young, and I have hope," she said as she walked to one of the houses that sat beneath the porch roof. The clouds overhead rumbled softly, reminding me that a lack of rain seemed to be the exception rather than the rule in Hoofington, and prompted me to join her under cover. "Now, I know you have many questions about your friends. What happened? Where are P-21 and Glory?" I said, exaggerating my speech just a touch. "Ah, that is a funny story. We were traveling along the rails toward the city. Your whining was quite impressive. Whines to make the most savage hellhound cringe in terror." Rarity. He did not like having nothing to do, and so it was suggested that he look into the other orb. He did this with some difficulty, scowling and swearing and insisting it was broken. Then there was a flash, and you were out. It was quite a relief to the others. Soon we were not pulling up hills, but rather fighting to go down them safely. We encountered a brown unicorn on the tracks. I set the brake, glad for a rest. Your friends seemed to know him. They talked. They argued. I could only see the brown one's words. He asked your friend to give you up. He asked your friend why he would travel with a mare from your stable. He was not kind. What did he say? I asked, finding myself whispering. Had to repeat myself so she could see the words formed by my lips. He asked if you still used your friend as reproductive equipment. Your friend was outraged that I could see, but I fear he was hurt as well. The brown one asked your friend if he enjoyed being used, if you commanded him, if you cared about him at all. He asked your friend if you had apologized. I fear our friend was listening to his poisoned words. I swallowed. I hadn't apologized. Instead, I'd insulted him at Brimstone's fall and hadn't been able to make it right. After that, they tried to take you. Numerous hunters waiting in the woods struck. The brown one used a spell, tying your blue friend head to hoof in straps and ropes. They charged you from all sides. Your winged friend did all she could, but she is not as ferocious a fighter as you. Then, from the sky came more Pegasi. The fight was brutal, terrible, and fierce. I did not see how we could prevail. So Magina and I detached ourselves from the cart and released the brake. Then we fled, letting the cart roll away more swiftly than I had anticipated. What happened then? What happened to P-21 and Glory? With their prize lost, the brown one took your blue friend south. The Pegasi took your winged friend north. I could see both of their struggles. I'm sorry, but I left them, hoping to find you. I did not imagine the downhill track would carry you so very far. She frowned and rubbed her chin with the hoof, saying, "Perhaps that story needs a bit more work to make it truly funny." I fell off at some point. I should be glad I didn't break my neck, I suppose, especially given how weak I had been. I frowned, imagining the mine flatbeds rolling down the hill, going faster and faster towards tunnels filled with death and worse. How could I have survived falling at those speeds? Was it really just luck? I guess. Will you come with me? Blackjack has a point for once. She couldn't have survived all that by herself. So, just what happened? She started at my question and gave me a sad smile. No, brave pony. I am not a fighter, or a scholar, or a healer. I am a teller of stories. I would not be able to help. Worse, I would fear for my daughter, and I would fear for my daughter, and you would fear for me, and you would fear for me. If you are to rescue your friends, you cannot worry about a silly storyteller and her child. She gave me a warm smile. I will stay here for a time. I'm sure these children might appreciate my tales, and there may be fresh stories to learn here. So close to Hoofington? I asked in concern. I was astonished to see an almost cheeky smile. Ah, yes. Let me see the wicked city, she said as she walked to the edge of the porch and looked out. My, it certainly fits all the tales told. I can almost feel it sucking my soul and feeding on my blood. She glanced over at me at my stunned expression and laughed. I am a storyteller. I can tell the threads of truth from the yarns of fancy. You're not afraid? I said with a smile. It is a city. Stone and steel and machines and dark magics. Ugly, certainly. Dangerous, unquestionably. Yet, should I fear it for that? Should I act as if it's going to gobble me whole from here? Gobble me whole from here? She snorted and looked at it for another long moment. Some day I would like to know its story, though I fear it will be quite a trick to make it happy. I just thought, you being a zebra. She arched her brow. Oh ho, and being a zebra I what? Well, I heard zebras thought Huffington was cursed. Do you fear the city, pony? She was still smiling, and I had to admit I hadn't thought of it. A little, I guess. It's dangerous, but so is a gun or a grenade. I cocked my head. So what do you think about the hoof, if you're not scared? Angry? Lancer certainly seemed that sort. No, I am sad. I pity such loss and pain. So much folly. But it is not as bad. It's not a bad feeling, because it encourages me to learn from others. So I travel this place, seeking stories to share. It is odd, isn't it? I could honestly think of worse things to do with one's life. It's the wasteland, I said with a smile and a shrug. You should talk to Priest. He's got lots of stories to share. I think he'll like talking with a zebra like you. He needs to smile more. Oh ho ho! Sakashi's eyes lit up as her lips curled in a wide grin. He is he. Perhaps you would be better suited. Perhaps you would be better suited to make him smile. A fool I have already. You are out of your perverted striped mind. I snorted, shifting back and forth awkwardly. He's a priest. I'm sure he's taken vows or something. What value is in a vow that is never tested? Or is there another buck you've got your heart on? Perhaps some blue pony? She arched her brow. This was ridiculous. I need to get my stuff and get going. No, not answering questions about that. Besides, I didn't want to think about it. P21 is my friend. He's smart and focused and wraps explosive collars around ponies and gives me the button to push. And helps keep me together when I'm falling apart. And I need him and he needs me. Things were just easier back in the stable. You put yourself on a male's breeding queue and wait your turn. Easy. But now it was Sakashi who looked shocked. And these ponies, they could refuse? There was a look in her eyes I didn't like. Refuse? Why would a male refuse? It's what they're for. I mean, all bucks like sex. I said with a small frown. Sakashi looked disappointed in me, even disturbed. And if a buck refused? Well, they just don't. They don't want to refuse. Why didn't she get that? It was simple. It was just the way things were. There was nothing to think about. Males wanted sex because it felt good. It was what they were for. How they were wired. Look, as interesting as your suggestion is, I need to get going. The sooner I find P21 and Glory, the better. Then I can get my caps and find out what's hiding out there, out on my pit buck. Sakashi looked at me in the strangest way. She smiled, but looked like she wanted to cry. I hope you find P21 and Glory soon, Blackjack. And when you do, ask him about his life. And if he tells you, please accept my apology. Then please accept my apology. Damn it, Blackjack. You still don't get it. Ugh, fucking Stable 99 brainwashing. Goddamn Overmare. I'm sorry, folks, you ponies. I just really hate that kind of attitude. And I know it's not her fault, because she was brainwashed, and she's not that smart a pony, even with the intense training she's gotten. I think she has an intelligence of 4. Oh well. Damn it, I just clicked again. Oh well. And with that, she turned and immediately walked away. I stared at her. Her apology? I stared after her. Her apology? For what? Oh crap. I tried asking him what he was feeling, and he told me he wanted to shoot me. I called after her that I rose my hooves, but of course she didn't hear. I tried to understand him. I had. I tried to be nice, and then he pulled that stunt with the collars. He'd hissed about the need for justice, as if the mine boss had wronged him or something. The way he looked at me. You'll learn soon enough, Blackjack. I couldn't think about that now. I had to keep going. I had to get going. I stepped off the porch and started across the road to the post office where I'd left my things. But I stopped when I saw a priest quietly walking up the road from the chapel. Our eyes met. He had the lightest golden eyes. He smiled wistfully. You're leaving? I ran into one of my companions. She told me what happened and where to start looking. I said awkwardly. Sorry for what I said on the bridge. I know that you care. I just can't think of doing nothing. Or of just letting them die. I know you can't, Blackjack. You act. You do. But sometimes the best action is no action. Oh, goddesses, how true that phrase is. He said quietly. I know you can't agree. He was right, I couldn't. Good luck with finding your friends. Thanks. You should talk to Sakashi. You can't miss her with her stripes, I said with a smile and added with emphasis, she's not here as a pilgrim. That definitely lifted his spirits. Celestia protect and Luna defend you, he said quietly as he bowed his head towards me. Take care, I muttered awkwardly. I wanted to... what did I want? Apologize? Feel that calm he radiated? Jump him? Well, that last one certainly. It'd been a week since anything had it'd been a week since anything had gotten betwixt my oh my god, it's oh, what Blackjack, it's only been a week and you're already this screwed up. Instead, I just smiled like a moron, turned and walked away. Damn it, why couldn't I be a smart pony and figure this shit out? I was missing something, but I just couldn't tell what. You're missing a lot of things, Blackjack. I'm sorry, but I would be such an asshole bitching her out about that shit. Trying to drive what she's getting, what she's missing into her head. And then she'd probably shoot me. Oh well. With my gear stowed, I was on my way back to the rail line. From what Sakashi had said, I could reach it more quickly than I thought by simply going straight west over land. I traded most of the weapons to the Cat Fiend. I'd gotten her name, but I simply refused to call her Charity, for whatever fresh medical surprise she possessed. But I kept one of the carbines, now repaired to some state of decency, for some long-range ordnance. I had my automatic pistol for close-in work, and I fixed up my drum-fed assault shotgun with whatever parts I could get from the museum salvage. I cleaned out my bags, amazed at the mass of junk within. I turned on DJ Palm 3 as I walked, keeping up a brisk pace that ate the distance under my hooves. For once, I wasn't shut up. My back injury was only a distant ache, and I felt fairly good. Takashi's suggestion slithered around the back of my head, but I just shut that door, locked it, dropped the key into the toilet, and flushed it away. Then, for safety, I welded the door shut and stacked some barrels of magical radioactive waste in front of it. I didn't need to think about that now. Blackjack. You need to think. Thinking is important. Oh well, I guess thinking would ruin her character. Or her character development, maybe. Hell, I don't know. It's been so long. I only know certain bits and pieces. I've forgotten. I've forgotten everything after 20. Except for one part. 2 parts. I was keeping my eyes up and looked for any threats on my EFS. Whoa. Heck of a yawn. Bloat sprites, a rat hog. For once my passage was relatively danger-free. I kept the carbine out to get some practice with a longer range weapon. Shotguns and automatics were what I trained with, but the practice of sighting and leading was a new one to me. There was nothing more embarrassing than taking 6 shots to kill one bloat sprite. Why did P-21 want to kill me? My mind dug the key out of the waste processor and turned it over and over. Don't think about it. Safer and easier. He'd been mad because I'd been the one to find him. If you give me a gun, I might shoot you. His voice whispered from behind the door. I just spoiled whatever he'd had for his own escape. The mare, singing her indifference to the world trailed off her last glorious notes, and DJ Pawn 3 gave its long, soft sigh. There's nothing like sapphire shores to make a pony strut their stuff. That was fearless, and for me, it brings to mind some interesting things I've heard coming from out east. Now, I'm sure you remember Security's bold declaration against slavers and operating from Paradise. Well, Paradise and Reaper Deos teamed up to lay a record bounty on Security. Sadly, ponies hither and yon have gone into a bit of a frenzy for the elusive mare around the Hoofington region. Now, you'd think forcing a change in management at Brimstone's Fall Jewel Mine would convince some ponies to come to their senses about hunting a mare who's working for the freedom of every pony. But no, some have still taken it upon themselves to give her some grief. Well, I have a special recording from 2 of these would-be bounty hunters and their run-in with Miss Security. Let's play the tape. There was a burst of static, then Busted Leg's trembling voice stammered. There were 11 of us. We spotted her. She was unarmed. We spotted her alone. She was unarmed. Unarmored. We had her cornered in the museum. She busted necks, smashed in heads, broke my legs. I heard snuffling in the recording. She got our guns and just blew us to pieces. And she was drunk, and singing like a demon mare in heat. A mare then asked, "What happened to you, sir?" There was a sniffle and a stammer, and then Nick Jules wailed, "She fucking killed me!" BJ Pumphrey coughed and chuckled. There you have it. You bucks might be happy to risk your lives for the bounty, but are you prepared to risk that? And Security, when you're done fixing the slavers in Paradise, how about a recording or 2? Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's true. For all y'all lady ponies out there, a man's jewels are indeed more important than his life, at least to him. That is a man's pride, and taking it from him is something that is worse than death. So if you really want to pay back your ex-boyfriend, cut his nuts off. Okay, don't do that, please. If anyone does that, it's not my fault. Just saying. I went feeling a little guilty as the next song wound up. I hadn't really wanted to cut him there. In fact, I hadn't been completely sure I'd done that until now. Thanks to the hangover and all. Well, any deterrent was a welcome deterrent, right? I levitated out a box of caramel corn crispies. Oh, doesn't that sound good? And shook it into my mouth. Sweet and crunchy good. I tripped and landed flat on my face. That trip wasn't special. It could happen to any pony. That I tripped over a fresh corpse. Only my luck could be that bad. The poor mare hadn't just been killed. Whatever had done it had torn massive rents in her sides, cleaving right through the rib cage and spilling her organs across the field. I felt my pulse start to pound and back away, clenching my eyes and fighting to slow my breathing. Ugh. I could feel the incision in my gut beginning to snip open. Then I felt one of my rear hooves land in something. Oh, please don't tell me I stepped in what I think I stepped in. I glanced back to see the hoof lodged in the displayed chest cavity of an earth pony buck. The gore on my hooves was still lukewarm. I fought to keep the corn in my stomach as I wiped the bloody smear off the end of my leg. Carefully, I looked around, working to keep my breathing slow and level. It was half a dozen ponies, all of them armed with rifles from the ratty cloths they wore, though. I doubted fighting was their main occupation. The dead bushes that had concealed them in death. I looked in the direction from which I had been walking to this little corpse of trees and bushes. They'd have had a nice shot, and could I have taken them out? And could I have taken them out if hit by surprise from a distance, especially considering that they had cover? Something had gotten them first, and it hadn't just killed the poor bastards. They were dismembered and their bodies crushed in, every weapon smashed in two. The only things intact were their ammunition, their caps, and 2 burlap bags containing some meager foodstuffs and bottles of rainwater. Something had just done me a favor, and I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. So, something ripped them apart. Something powerful attacked them first. Something very powerful ripped them apart, attacked them first. Doesn't look like claw marks, or doesn't sound like it at least. So, this might be a piece of a puzzle. Reaching the rail line, I picked up the pace a little. Running for more than short sprints wasn't something I was very used to. But right now, I had plenty of incentive to try. The slaughtered ponies in that camp reminded me that I still had a price on my head. I noticed how much of the grade behind me was downhill. I could only imagine how I'd fallen off my cart and off the cart in my crippled state without dying. If my luck was that good, I shouldn't have gotten shot in the first place. Her luck isn't that good. I noticed how much of a grade. Yeah, my thoughts went back to my helper. I didn't like some pony helping me all sneaky like, but I had to admit it was better than shooting me in the back. On the other hoof, though, I really didn't care for their methods at all. Any pony that tore other ponies to pieces wasn't exactly what I'd call an ally. The idea of any pony who could even do that didn't sit well with me. Still, at the moment, I had other problems that sent me ducking down. Crouching in my amber vision, I could see the turned-over mine flat car. I could also see a camp made behind it. There was a crude barricade built around the area, and a campfire made my mutant night vision flare and fight with my normal sight. There were 4 yellow bars and a number of red bars inside. I frowned, rubbing my muzzle to my hoof. Slavers? Hunters? It couldn't be a coincidence that they were right at the flip cart, could it? I could make out the 4 ponies, weapons pointed outwards, waiting. Great. I sighed as I floated up my rifle and focused down the barrel. Definitely not my weapon of choice. I saw the little twitches as the amber and red bars moved. Just pull the trigger and make your life easier, Blackjack. I kept the sights lined up perfectly. Pull the trigger. Pull the trigger. Don't pull it, squeeze it, dumbass. I really wouldn't have minded if Celestia had given me a few more brains, I said as I stood. This is gonna get me shot. I kept the assault carbine up and advanced towards the camp, saying loudly and cheerfully, I'd really love to avoid a wholesale slaughter, so if you folks could keep things cool, I'd be much obliged. I had the biggest, widest, possibly psychoist grin I could. No shots. Not that I minded not getting shot at. It was refreshing, actually. It was also driving my main crazy. The fires turned, uh, the ponies into silhouettes. No replies. No warnings. Threats? Just red and yellow bars. I'm not a sneaky pony. Oh, I try. You'd think moving quietly would be a simple thing. Just don't step on anything noisy. Usually, though, there always seemed to be something noisy that I somehow missed. So the fact that I reached the low barricade of the desiccated tree limbs without getting shot gave me a touch of confidence, until I got a good look at the inside. There was a good explanation for why these ponies weren't shooting at me. They were all tied up. The rifles had to be the flimsiest varmint rifles I'd ever seen, and were lashed to their hooves. On each pony's back was a sack that jerked and hissed with insect fury. Rad roaches. In the middle was a large metal box with a terminal on it. Oh, so that's why the bars were red. Suddenly, floodlights illuminated the barricade from all sides, and a ring of red bars appeared around me. The terminal flicked and flashed to life, and a mayor spoke out in a staticky tone of glee. I have you now, security. You have fallen for the brilliant chap of Virgo Zodiac, seventh daughter of the Zodiac family. I looked at the 5 bound ponies and then out into the glare of the floodlights. Your capture will earn me an impressive fortune for my research. Surrender in the name of arcane science. Oh, really? And what kind of research are you doing? I shouted, not sure if I could if she could see or hear me through the terminal. Why is that so hard to say? I pulled off the bags with rabbit roaches and yanked out the dragon's claw. A few dead bugs later, and the 4 hostages relaxed a bit. There was a stunned silence. Oh, you mean you really want to know? I'm trying to unlock the secrets of pit buck manufacturing. They are a true marvel of ancient technology. I've been able to repair 1 or 2, but the arcane science machines are so complex and difficult that components are dreadfully expensive. Gotta say, you got a good notion there. I'd have been dead long ago if it weren't for mine, I said, then pulled the head of the closest hostage to me and whispered, Don't run just yet. He swallowed, staring into my amber glowing eyes and nodding. I sliced his gag and then his bonds, moving to the next. Oh crap. Well, I gotta say, I'm pretty embarrassed at getting caught and all. He must be one of the smartest of, what was it again? The Zodiac family? Yes, the Zodiac family is the greatest family of bounty hunters in Equestria. Granted, I haven't gotten far from Hoofington, experiments and all, but I am sure this is going to cement my fame with my siblings, she said in a rush as I cut one pony after the next free. So, Virgo, care to explain this trap to me? I have to admit, I'm not the smartest pony. I'm guessing there's something in the box? I said loudly as I hunkered down. I could make out floating spider bots, similar to the Dean Hardy at the Rosehoof Academy, surrounding the camp. Ah, yes. It took me days of planning to come up with, and hours to set it all up. See, I thought I'd lure you in hostages. Actually, I thought you just shoot them and go running to loot the bodies. That's what most ponies do. I wonder why. Anyway, inside that box is a deadly neurotoxin. Deadly? It's your friend. Deadly neurotoxin. Oh, man. My little GLaDOS, my little GLaDOS. Okay, let's get back to the story now. In that box is a deadly neurotoxin specially devised to keep you unconscious in a matter of seconds. Maybe minutes. It shouldn't be more than that. There are landmines activated to keep you put until then. If you try and get close enough to deactivate one, the others will get you. And finally, I have my Sentry Jones ready to finish you off if you do somehow get past the mines. She finished, then broke into hysterical laughter. I broke into a fit of coughing and wheezing. I looked at the monitor. If some point was going to watch my butt, why couldn't they have dealt with this piece of work? Oh, 1 second there, pony. Okay, I'm back. I looked around at the others and mouthed, "Any ideas?" But there were only blank looks in return. Well, time for my standby. It'd probably get us all dead. Yep, just 2 questions. If you don't mind. Just 2 questions if you don't mind. Okay, I'm back. Oh, good. One. Are these robots the kind that'll just swarm swarm in if a pony and blast a pony to pieces if you shoot at them? Yes, they're on a hair trigger. So I warn you now, don't you dare try and think of to shoot them, or they'll all be on top of you. Besides, do you have any idea how expensive sentry robots are? Really? They charge a hoof and a leg over at scrapyard, she said in a wounded voice. You'd think they could give me a discount for being a loyal buyer, but no. Every pony's just in it for the caps. Never knowledge. Yeah, the world's unfair like that. One last question. Why do you call it dilly neurotoxin if it's supposed to sleep? Portal reference. I asked as I rose up and sighted the closest hovering rope, Spatterbot. A stunned silence answered me. You know, why don't you think on that a bit? And I took the shot. Better white than striped. Die, you zebra commie. For the herd of the free and the home of the hay. The fuck? Okay, borrowing that blasphemous mutilation of the American slogan. I like the first one. Better white than striped, right? Wrong. The robot shouted as they all advanced in unison. Pink bolt of disintegration energy lanced out from the spider legs. No, no, what are you doing? There was a click and a hiss as a green gas started to seep from the metal box. However, its container wasn't exactly what I call heavy, nor was it angered to anything. I kicked the terminal off the ground and into the air, sending it bouncing towards the minefield. Get down! I shouted, a bit redundantly. Really, given that I'd already had their heads down and to avoid flashing bolts of disintegration magic. Then a mine exploded with a resounding crack. This set off the three closest to it, and those set off the next, and the next, and the next. Within a second, the entire minefield had detonated in a ring of shrapnel destruction. The sentry bots were laying in sparking heaps. The floodlights fell over, their magical bulbs breaking and cutting off the harsh glare. The fucking idiots! You tried to make a redundancy, but the redundancy was redundant. Something hot whooshed past less than an inch from my eyes, smashing my glass. It smacked my glasses off my singeing mane. I blinked. Then, in the thunderous silence, if you don't count the ringing in my ears, left in the wake of the world exploding, and carefully felt around with a hoof to be sure my face was still attached. Somehow, it was. I looked at the 4 prisoners, who were now staring at my amber eyes in terror, and grinned sheepishly. Wow, close, huh? The 4 looked as if they'd wished it'd been a touch closer. My trap. You. Oh, this is so not fair. A voice, Virgo, I realized, but quieter without the static whine. Daddy's gonna be so mad at me. Oh, I don't think you have to worry about that, I said as I aimed the rifle at the sole remaining red bar on my EFS. I sighted her right at her skull, and then sighed. I swapped targets. Now you and your family leave me alone. I told her just before I fired. Yeep! Yipe! Yipe? Really? She shrieked as she rose, reaching back to grab her rump as my bullet grazed it. The red turned to yellow as she ran off, calling faintly, "You're gonna be in so much trouble when I tell Daddy about this." I let out a sigh as I flopped back behind the barricade. Wow, that was dumb of me. Wandering into a trap like that, I said, grinning at the other 4 ponies. The mares and bucks just stared back in amazement. You okay? Yeah. A pale purple mare with a pitchfork, cutie mark stammered. So I suppose we just thank you? Yeah, thank you. Sure, I thought without asking them if they. I thought about asking them if they had any caps I could spare for my saving hostages fund, but I figured that would be a little bit crude. Hey, I'm looking for 2 ponies. One was taken north by Pegasi, and they were taken south by a brown unicorn with dots under his cutie mark. You see either of them? They looked at one another, and a tan buck muttered, "Well, my brother says he thinks there's them Enclave ponies holed up in Miramar Air Station up north." Thanks. It was the best lead I had, and once I had Glory's brains helping me, I'd be able to avoid traps like this and save some time. Well, you take care of yourselves, all right? They nodded slowly, and I hopped over the barricade and started on my way north. "So, we're gonna jump her now? She's getting away," one of the bucks asked dully, just as I left earshot. The sound of hooves against his butt was answer enough. No, you don't jump the pony who saved your life. No, bad farmer pony, bad. Alright, I'm going to take a short break because I've been talking for Celestia knows how long. And I have yet to take a break, like an actual break, so I'll be back in a few minutes. In the meantime, it'll sound like nothing to you because I will pause the fudging recording. And we're back, every pony. So, that was some good water. Let's get right back to it, shall we? It's been a great night. So far, I hadn't had to kill any pony, and while falling for Virgo's trap had been annoying, I had to admit, it turned out for more or less the best. I was on my way to find one of my friends. The rain had even decided to let things dry out a little. All in all, things were looking up. I had been walking for hours though, and my legs were starting to feel a bit wobbly. Time for a snack and a nap. Of course, finding the right place wasn't easy, but eventually I happened across a ring of trailers at an old campsite. The first trailer I tried didn't have much in it save for a mattress, but that was good enough for me. I sank down into the soft, compared to the ground at least, surface with a sigh. A few hours rest and I should be ready to go. Just need to nod off. Relax. Relaxing. Any second now. Come on. Relax. Fuck. I was tired, but I just couldn't get my brain to turn off. I kept thinking about the day, that horrible bridge, wonderful singing and music, that terrible scene of slaughter, and that curious encounter with Virgo. Maybe I should put a bullet in her head, but she'd been interesting at least. She'd nearly gotten me. If I hadn't been lucky, she would have. The night was just full of dripping noises and silence. I lay on my stomach with a sigh, pulled my pit buck in front of me, and started fiddling with it. I hated being bored. It was right up there with waiting. I brought up EC-1101 in the hope that it had gotten bored too, and decided to save me trouble and caps by decoding itself. Of course, no such luck. I noticed a file directly above EC-1101. Pit buck number 214. P21 audio files. I slowly moved the cursor up one space and just stared at the highlighted entry. Maybe what I needed was a bit of entertainment to get me to sleep. It wasn't like it was invasive or anything. I knew what P21 had done in the stable, and I wouldn't see another mare from there again. One sec. So what was wrong with listening to some bumping flanks while I gave myself a good rubbing? Blackjack. The naughty idea took root, and I gave a snicker as I opened the audio files. Most of the mare's names were acronyms anyway. OM? No thanks. I'd heard enough of that little sociopath to last me a lifetime. DTs were cute, but I needed something new. GR? If that was who I thought was, no thank you. RIV? 2 weeks ago I'd have killed for this. MID? How could she? Well, probably pretty easily. I guess over the 10 years, P21 had really gotten around. BJ? I'm sorry, but just that acronym means something completely different that I'm sure all of you will get. Yeah, old joke with Blackjack. I blinked at the 3 entries. I only knew one mayor in Stable 99 who used those two letters, me. When had I ever gotten around P? When have I ever been around P21 to be recorded? Granted, I've been around a lot of males. When you were born in 99, they give you a sterility implant until your mother passed away. Then the implant was removed, and simple habitual breeding would usually result in a foal. Implant back in, simple. You did your job and enjoyed what fun you could. If a mare died without producing a replacement, usually because of an accident or suicide, despite what I said to the priest, it did happen occasionally. But the perpetrators were even more thoroughly forgotten than normal 99 dead. Than the normal 99 dead. Then the overmare would allow an extra mare to be bred. I swallowed as I moved the cursor over the first entry with my acronym. I felt a squirt in my gut. Whoa! A squirm in my gut. It was in the past. What could it hurt? Don't think about it. The sound of stable-approved recreational music in the atrium. The babble of many voices echoing. There were only 3 kinds of large celebrations in the atrium. A quinceañera, which marked when a mare could start performing duties for the stable. The birth of a foal, but usually was a smaller affair in the cafeteria. And the overmare's birthday. Since the music wasn't blurring out how wise and kind the overmare was, I guess that this event was an example of the first one. My pulse calmed. Nothing special had happened that day. The 6 of us were celebrating at once. Daisy and I were going into security, Midnight was going into her tech work, and the others escaped me. There'd been green cake made, and a sort of punch that was supposed to be mildly alcoholic, but wasn't. Yeah, parties in '99 were pretty lame, but any sort of fun was craved, even the overmare's birthday. Let's go play with the bucks! I heard Daisy scream. Dibs on the unicorn. Daisy! At least give me the unicorn. You take the blue one. I heard myself whine, my voice growing clearer. I mean, look at him. He looks defective, and he's just P1. Too bad. I call the unicorn. She laughed, and I heard hoof sets receding into the distance. Ugh, mule. My petulant voice whined in my ears. Well, come on, you. Please. B21 whispered softly, audio only to his own pit-buck. Audible only to his own pit-buck. The sounds of the party dimmed, and a door closed. Help me get out of this party dress. I don't want the work detailed to cover the stain. Party clothes were passed down from filly to filly each quinceañera. No pony owned fancy clothes, except the overmare. P21 stammered in a tiny, terrified voice. Huh? I don't want to do this. Please don't make me do this, he whimpered. Ugh, are you actually talking? Look, here's the plan. You're going to make me feel good. That's your job. If you can't do that, then go to medical and have them fix you until you can. I gave a little annoyed sigh. You don't actually do anything in here except breed. So the least you should do is be happy about it. I cut the feed. It had been a horrible party. Daisy had gotten the unicorn buck. That's all I remembered. I'd gotten the P1, the whiny one, the one who cried, the whole time. That had been him, and I hadn't even remembered. I hugged my head, my mind trying to process this, trying to find some way to accept what I'd heard. I'd been young. I'd been following the rules. It was Stable 99's fault. It wasn't mine. They don't want to refuse. All males want sex. I looked at the remaining 2 files, feeling nauseous. There was no time to waste. There was no way I was going to sleep now, or doing what I'd been about to do, or taking the time to listen to more. I couldn't think about it. Just like every major building in the wasteland, Miramare Air Station was an over-engineered monstrosity. A black brick of a building topped by a tower. It was that over-engineering that kept the building intact when almost every other structure was blasted away by the red glowing crater to the east of the runway. Armored sky chariots lay tumbled in heaps and piles. The hangars slumped in concave mounds where the rooftops had collapsed. Ground carts had simply been reduced to scattered chassis, with the hulk of a tank the only recognizable vehicle. Tank! Shoot the tank! Left 4 Dead reference for y'all. It was also quiet. Too quiet. If there were Pegasi here, they were being pretty sneaky about it. Not exactly the behavior I expected from a group trying to help the surface. I kept getting the impression of two personalities from the Enclave. The former was nice, idealistic, naive, and bumbling. Easy to trust. The latter had snuck into the fleshlight clinic and ignored the psychological states of 40 cults and billies trapped in stasis. This place had entirely the second dealing to it. The Enclave here was up to no good. Worse, there were red bars on my EFS, but I couldn't see anything ahead of me. The tarmac was empty except for scattered vehicles. My mane twitched like mad, suggesting this was the place. Oh, that magic mane of hers. I just didn't know how to proceed. Traps, invisible monsters, pop-up turrets. I just got an image of a pop-up book that pops up and shoots you. like the little cardboard cutout of the turrets from Portal pop out and then shoot you with little bitty pieces of cardboard. It's so cute, and it can't kill you. Well, when in doubt, if there was something here looking to eat me, I might as well ring the dinner bell. I strolled out towards the main building, whistling to myself as my eyes kept watching for something shooty, pointy, or bitey as I made my stupid move. That was one hell of a yawn. I had to pause the recording. Yeah, that happened. Then I spotted 2 ammo crates poking out underneath an overturned wagon. Well, I suppose that technically none of this stuff was enclaves. I didn't exactly see a flag painted, and shit, who was I kidding? Scavenge and pillage! I turned sharply just as the crimson beam of energy popped the tarmac in front of me. Okay, now that wagon took a whole new importance as I dove behind it. A trail of beams, shots followed in my wake. A quick look around, nothing. Well, since I was down here, I took the chance to curse my inability to open locks on these crates. Ugh, I really needed that blue pony. Yeah, there we go. So there was some pony out there with either a beam rifle or a doozy of a beam pistol. I really did not want to end my days as a pile of smoldering ash. But where would the shooter be? Along the rooftop seemed natural. It's where I'd be if I was shooting some pony. But the Enclave are Pegasi. They wouldn't be on a building. They'd be in the sky, directly above me. No matter which way I went, they'd have my back torched. I looked up and at the rusted metal overhead. It was intact, but it wasn't like it was an armored wagon bed. I brought the shotgun and loaded one explosive round, clenching my eyes shut, and fired. The shot made my ears ring. I looked around, but they were still taking their time. They had all the time in the world. I rolled onto my back and looked up through the hoof-sized hole popped in the metal. There he, or she, I wasn't sure, was, clad in some sort of black armor and hovering with an automatic rifle on one side of their battle saddle and a beam weapon on the other. The carbine slid up through the hole. Hovering. And then on the other side of their battle, the carbine slid up through the hole. I took a deep breath and shouted at the top of my lungs, "Parley!" No response. "I really don't want to fight you." Still no response. "Really?" Fuck. Why was nothing ever easy? I sighted up through the hole, hit sats, and aimed for her hoof. Maybe if I winged them, so to speak, they'd be able to talk. Or they'd be willing to talk. I had Deus, every slaver, and half the wasteland out in my head. I didn't want the Enclave as well. I didn't want to add the Enclave as well. I popped off the first burst, the second, and the third, and the last 3 rounds tore into the Pegasus' limb. I watched it fall off. The Pegasus swayed wildly, blood raining in spurts from a severed stump, and then started back towards the main building. They didn't get far before falling and crashing with a definite crunching noise a few dozen feet away. Next word supposed to bend like that. I crawled out and looked at the body and swore, "Damn it, you bony son of a bitch! I didn't want to kill him!" I shouted at the card-dealing bastard I'd come to view as personifying the wasteland. I was security, the mare seemingly dead set to piss off every pony in the wasteland. Well, nothing to it now. The fall had bent the barrel of the automatic, but I got some parts off it to improve my carbine a hair. The beam rifle I detached, along with the spark drum that provided its ammo. Maybe Glory could use it, but I couldn't even figure out where the trigger was. Also, his armor was made of hard plates, so something somehow melded with some sort of thick fabric. It was surprisingly lightweight, but still far more resilient than the flimsy gear she'd worn before. Pity it didn't cover the legs or head, though. I rolled it up and stuck it in my bag. I made my way to a side door and found it locked. Still, it was a pretty simple lock, easier than the tiny little things on the ammo crates. I nudged the door open and then carefully stepped into a bathroom 200 years in need of cleaning. Shit everywhere! There was a lot of red bars in here. Either I'd already pissed them off somehow, it happens, I seem to have a knack for it, or they were shooting anything without wings. Well, one way or the other, we'd get this dealt with. I switched from my carbine to my shotgun, loaded with standard buckshot for the moment, and moved past grime-encrusted toilets and chipped sinks. The reek of mildew filled the air and glass from broken lights. The reek of mildew filled the air, and glass from broken lights overhead ground against the concrete floor with each step. This was the locker room. I passed by the showers and walked silently by the rows and rows of lockers. Okay, no. I silently checked lockers for loot. There were a few that held useful things. A few caps here and there, a plastic jar of buck, some medics, plenty of junk too, most of which I skipped. I found a book titled Martial Mayhem, and I only took it because of the picture on the cover. A zebra kicking a head clean off. Damn, girl. Yeah, they can do that. I happened across a storage locker with some cleaning supplies and duct tape. Well, I could carry a little more, I figured. It went into the bags it went. If nothing else, it would give me something to trade with the catmonger in chapel. I'd almost stepped out when I noticed on a bank of large lockers the tiny place card on the front. Stonewing. The lockers didn't have the same degree of battering as the others. In fact, it looked almost as if they'd been kept polished and cleaned by the soldiers. I read the next one. Jetstream, Vanity, Twist, Doof, Echo, Psalm. Something. Some pony had purposefully defaced the name tag. Big Macintosh. I couldn't see any locks. But a tiny terminal glowed at the end of the row. A prompt read, "Please specify locker." I entered Stonewing. Please specify password. I looked at the terminal keys, frowning at them. Slowly, I reached out with my magic and typed Rainbow Dash. There was a soft click and the large locker door opened. I don't know what I expected. There were a number of pictures glued inside the locker. Stonewing grinning like an idiot as he shook the hoof of the Rainbow Main Ministry Mare. An autographed picture of Rainbow Dash giving a wink in writing. Don't give up yet. Some money I wasn't even interested in taking. A photo of him with his squad. Another of Jetstream at a beach. Several pictures of him grinning happily. The only thing that remained was a folded note. Hey, if you're reading this, please get out of Stone's locker. If I took his harness and put it where it's safe. And if it's you, Jet, it's in that place where we did that thing that one time. Pick it up whenever you're ready. Big Macintosh. P.S. Honestly, Stone, Rainbow Dash, what were you thinking? I showed them that in the freaking Big Mac voice. Oh well. I chuckled and closed the locker. Really, it hadn't been much of a guess. Whatever had been important was gone and safe. I suppose that was all that mattered. Still, I have to admit, I felt a bit of annoyance. Something cool had been in here. Unfortunately, none of my other guesses at the other lockers' passwords were any good. So I left the armored lockers and moved carefully out the only exit I could find into some barracks. Sorry. A few of the bunks had been cleaned up, but the majority were a mess. I carefully went from hoof locker to hoof locker, taking anything remotely valuable I could. I stepped into the cafeteria, right in front of two Pegasi who were busy eating. I had the shotgun raised, and my amber eyes glared at them. Don't. I froze. They froze in place. Take off your weapons, I said in a low and slow. I said low and slow. Grinding metal. As I moved closer to the pair, they didn't blink as they pulled their pistols out of their holsters and tossed them on the floor. Ammo too. Their clips clattered on the linoleum. Now, where is Morning Glory? I asked as I levitated the weapons and ammo into my bag. Find her yourself. Find her yourself. The red wine covered buck said levelly. Fair enough, I said and levitated out the roll of duct tape. It was a bit tricky handling both, but I managed. And I started to tape down their wings. Their eyes went wide. They looked indignant, but I asked them softly, "Would you rather be shot?" That mollified them a little. Then took out a bottle of Wonder Glue and squeezed 2 globs on the floor. Sit. They glared at me, then promptly put their butts in the hardening resin. Inside a minute, it set. They'd have to be cut out of their uniforms to get free. I stretched out 2 last pieces of tape and covered their mouths. If it was any consolation, I really wanted to avoid this. The Pegasus I'd found in the hallway after a minute later hadn't been nearly so easy to manage. As she spotted me, she immediately turned, crouched, and opened fire with an automatic weapons and on her battle saddle. She didn't seem to have much skill at hitting moving targets in a narrow hallway, but even those few impacts managed to sting like even those few impacts she managed stung like crazy. Ah. I dodged left and right as I crossed the distance. She backed into the wall. She got her head low. She got a lead shower. Then she got a lead shower. With a cry, her guns went silent and she fell limp. I took what I could and continued on, sweeping through the first floor. I found offices, record rooms, a gift shop, and a deli. A deli with some scrumptious, crispy carrot cakes. They were still fresh and went perfectly with a sparkle cola. I also pocketed some pickle chips and radish surprise. And I found a new pair of aviator glasses. Oh yeah. I grinned in the mirror. Oh yeah. Freaky eyes hidden. That helped my mood a bit. I found stairs up and stairs down. If there were a pony who could fly, they would want to be upstairs, where I could jump out a window, or downstairs trapped in a hole. My mind was on upstairs. Carefully, I made my way up, step after step, and pushed through the door at the top. A veritable army of red dots appeared. Something must have been shielding them from my EFS. There had to be 20 at. Then I heard the telltale scuttle. Rad roaches? Well, now, that was an indication that Pegasi weren't up here. Well, still, since I might as well check the place out. The roaches weren't hard to deal with. A broom handle and some focus took care of most of them. The rooms were mostly offices, but of a nicer variety. There were terminals I couldn't touch, and safes I could only look at with undisguised frustration, and as dreams of treasures danced in my mind. Still, I found a med kit with good drugs and worthless, spoiled healing potions. More Wonder Glue, more duct tape, some turpentine. Nothing special, but it might prove useful. Damn, turpentine smells like shit. Turpentine, for those who don't know, smells worse than cat shit. Fresh. It smells worse than fresh cat shit. Trust me, I know. I've stated why before. Okay. Might prove useful. Yeah. In a break room, I rescued a case of bridal beer buck, a bridal buck beer, and decided that, well, being drunk hadn't make me lose last time. An open bottle floated beside me as I reached the door that leaded to a winding stairway up. The stairs ended in the office, and the stairs ended in the empty air traffic control tower. The terminals were all long dead, so were whatever operators were up here when the bombs went off. I looked at the scorched bones and blown out windows, and a memory orb? Yes, a memory orb. Sitting on the rail just outside the window, I looked out and immediately got the sensation of everything spinning. Okay, well, there's nothing out there. Looking down was every bit as hard as looking up. I took a deep breath and reached out with my magic. Careful, careful. I muttered as I pulled the little glowing orb towards me. Don't want to drop it. Don't want to. Whoosh. Damn it. Flying again. A Pegasus. A mare this time. Thank goodness. How did books even walk with that thing tucked between their legs? Sometimes it gets tough, Blackjack, but we manage. How do you walk without them? She was flying up towards the clouds as the sun set and the stars came out. In perfect synchronization, the moon rose over the horizon. Seeing it for the first time, I felt a little of what I imagined priests felt looking at its windows. Comfort in a higher power. Tears streaked down my host's cheeks as she landed on a small white cloud. There was a green flash behind me. My lips curled in a little smile. Checking up on me, morale officer? Well, it's in the job description. You should see the manual. Grief counseling, interventions, MOP procedures. Then Vanity walked. Wait, walked? Yep, the unicorn was standing right up there on the fluffy clouds. I felt part of my brain twinge and snap at that sight. None of which means a damn when it comes to actually doing the job. The white unicorn said calmly beside my host. His emerald mane looked perfectly styled, even in the camouflage uniform he wore. Let me guess, Jetstream. From the notes you wrote me, you're blaming yourself. Then I'm supposed to tell you it's not your fault. Then you argue that it is your fault. We yell at each other. He sighed. Ugh, we're going to be at this for hours. My host glanced up at him, but his smile was soft and sympathetic. Everyone's told me it's not my fault. Oh, good. That cuts that whole chapter out of addressing denial. They're wrong. Or not. The unicorn sighed, patting her shoulder. Go on. I saw him dealing with those griffins. I saw him getting targeted by those snipers. If they'd given him more warning, taking the threat seriously. Stowing got shot all the time. You know this. We joked about it, he said quietly. And you're not the only one. Twitch is blaming herself for giving him that sweet. As if that did it. Solomon's having a crisis of faith. Babe Macintosh is hurting and keeping it all inside. And of course it's the fault of Zebraki. And of course it's the fault of all zebra kind. I was the one who flew with him. Benny let out a slow breath. You were the one who loved him. She sniffed and looked at him, and his smile, and she looked at him and his easy smile. Did you think I didn't know? That's my job description too. I don't feel love. All I feel is hurt. It's eating me up inside. I just want to forget. I want to forget everything I've felt for him. I rubbed my eyes. This shouldn't have happened. You knew something like this could, Jetstream. It's war, he said softly but firmly. In fact, something like this was very likely to happen. The Marauders have been together for years, and we've been lucky. That luck had to run out. I know, Vanity. I know. Damn it. I said, falling back and looking at the stars. It was a rare time when looking up didn't make my guts clench. It's just stupid. It's not stupid. What you're asking me to do is stupid. Jetstream, you loved him. Vanity began, but my host gave a dismissive... Yeah, one of those. And he loved her. Just the way it all works out, isn't it? Rainbow Dash, 20% cooler in 10 seconds flat. Oh boy, bitter much. Ugh. 2 memes at once. Put a nickel in the jar, damn it. She sighed as she rubbed her face. I doubt she even knew he existed, or that he died trying to clear the way so she and the Shadow Bolts could get a little more glory. She had losses too, Vanity said as he sat calmly on the cloud beside me. Yeah, I know. Skyramble and Streak. I went to their funerals. Stonewing didn't even get one. All he got was a memorial and a little plaque in Cloudsdale. She slammed her hooves on the ground, against the clouds, getting a little rumble of thunder from within. And how could the Ministry of Peace just lose him? They asked us to fight and die for that damn city, and they couldn't even give us a decent burial when we bite it? Things have gotten tense. You think Brimstone's death would have been you'd think Brimstone's death would have been a deterrent, but the zebras are getting even more dragons and griffins than ever. Mistakes happen, Vanity said as the gorgeous unicorn looked down into her eyes. Like this, asking me to take your memories so you don't have to feel pain. Isn't it going to make you feel better, Jetstream? She wept into her hooves and shook her head. I keep seeing him fall. I keep seeing that bastard shooting him. I keep going back there, Vanity, for that second, and stripping me apart, and stripping my head apart. She sniffed and then sat up, looking at him. Do you know what it's like to see something horrible again and again, so you can't get it out of your head? I knew. We all have images like that, but I can tell you that this won't make you happier, Vanity said quietly. You take a memory out and it might hurt less, but the hole will remain. It doesn't heal. He's gone. I don't plan on being happy ever again. Plans don't always go the way we want them to. She said as she looked at her hooves. I just want to be able to do my job. I want to make sure that if one of us goes again, it's me. Are you sure? Because I really wouldn't mind if Doof goes before you. Vanity chuckled. We took a poll and I'm pretty sure he voted for himself. She gave a soft, mirthless chuckle. That idiot. She looked down towards the setting sun. So, will you do it, Vanity? The green-maned unicorn sighed. I'll be fed to Nurse Major if it gets back to the ministry I did this. But I'm supposed to be our squad's morale officer. Just try to remember that if you ever want them, I've got your memory. I'll give your memories back. I'm not going to throw them away. Deal? Deal, she said as she closed her eyes. I felt his horn touch her forehead. Whoosh. Big Macintosh and his mare pony, now Stonewing and Jetstream. I had to wonder what it was like to love some pony, but never feel it in return. Actually, I'd be happy just to know what it was like to love some pony. Jetstream, it's in that place where he did the thing that one time. Now she wouldn't even remember that. I had to get Glory out of here. Once we were together, we could free P21 and I could work stuff out. Glory might have been naive when it came to love, but she was a smarter muffin smarter muffin. Yay, muffins! Oh, that's a derp if I've ever seen one. Maybe she'd taken morale psycho-thinking classes like Vanity. I tried to pull my head together and draw a line between then and now. Ugh, memory orbs. I didn't care what priests said about them. They were just no good. Oh, hello, Enclave soldiers. I'd finally pulled my head together enough to notice I wasn't in air traffic control. In the air traffic control tower. Four of the grim-faced black combat armored soldiers surrounded me in a stark cinder block room with my weapons gone and my hooves duct taped together. I looked from one scowling Pegasus soldier to the next. Okay, this was tough, but I faced worse odds. At least I had a little buzz going. Sneaky trick with the memory orb. You guys thinking up? You guys put it up there, didn't you? Just knew I'd go after it. Okay, I'd have to magically take out all of them with my telekinetic bullets. Free my legs through sheer force of will. Open a probably locked door and take out the rest of the base with my bare hooves. I could handle this. Actually, I told them to put it there. A familiar mare said as the door opened. In stepped Morning Glory wearing a freshly laundered black uniform. Her lips smiled warmly. Hello, Blackjack. Welcome to the Enclave. Dun dun dun! What a twist! Footnote: level up. New perk added. Finesse. Your attacks show a lot of finesse, or maybe it's just dumb luck. Either way, you have a higher chance to score a critical hit. Skill note: speech 75. Scheisen woman. Okay, every pony. It is approximately 10 o'clock. Let's see if I can get one more in me. Let's see if I have one more in me. Okay. This chapter has been just amazing. It's getting good, y'all. It's getting good. I swear we're gonna get to that one part, my favorite part, which is when we meet the non-specific pony. And then, actually, no. The entire story is my favorite part. Except for the first part. That's a bitch. It gets kind of dull at first, but it's picking up now. I'm going to get another chapter in. Oh, wait. I still have to do Vinyl and Octavia University Days. You all have missed that, haven't you? Now, I'm going to save this, post it, and while it's being saved and converted and posted, I will be beginning and possibly even ending 2 chapters of Vinyl and Octavia University Days. That's right, folks. Y'all get 4 stories today. Y'all are just lucky I'm high on tons of caffeine. Nightlife. Oh, wait. No. I might as well be high on Dash. Nightlife out.